The artwork in the rotunda of the Capitol building in Washington, D.C. is just stunning. Together, the sculptures and the paintings tell the stories of the discovery of America and of a nation born of the people, by the people, for the people. In the rotunda, you can find our founding documents, the Declaration of Independence, the Constitution, the Bill of Rights. Together, those three documents are called our Charters of Freedom. The experiment of American democracy continues to be a brilliant success. It is spread around the globe. It continues to do so, bringing freedom to millions. And yet there are some who walk into this glorious rotunda and see racism, because they see racism everywhere. And if you don't believe that there are some who see racism everywhere, the rotunda was labeled as an example of structural racism by the National Archives Taskforce on Racism, whose stated purpose was to find racism everywhere in government buildings in Washington, D.C. So yeah, they were commissioned to find racism everywhere. And if you think for a minute they were going to take the money to put together a report to find racism, that they were going to go, nope, couldn't find any, well, that just didn't happen. They found racism everywhere. But the most disturbing finding of the task force report was the Capitol Rotunda, which many Americans consider sacred, but in fact, according to the task force, lauds wealthy white men. The report suggests that a trigger warning be put at the entrance to the rotunda. To quote, now according to the report, forewarn audiences of content that could cause intense physiological and psychological symptoms. Seriously? If artwork about American history triggers intense physiological and psychological problems, maybe the outside world isn't for you. And when did we start even talking about trigger warnings? When did we get so hypersensitive as a society that we need signs to tell us that something we're about to see or hear might offend us? What if I'm offended by trigger warnings? I am certainly not arguing here that our founding fathers are perfect. No man is. Certainly no figure in history is. Everybody has flaws if you're willing to take the time and try hard enough to find them. And we have an entire pathetic subclass of social media trolls who thrive on finding the flaws of others so they can start a campaign to ruin the reputations of both the living and the dead. And yes, slavery is America's greatest sin. And the fact that it took a bloody civil war to end it and then decades more to offer equality to all is shameful. But that's why we have history, to learn from it. You can marvel at its greatness, but also learn from its mistakes so we don't make them again. Remember, many of our founding fathers abhorred slavery. John Adams called it an evil of colossal magnitude. Ben Franklin called it an atrocious debasement of human nature. And yes, some of the founding fathers owned slaves, especially the ones from the South. But they also wrote a constitution and created a republic that carved a pathway for equality and freedom for all. Not just in our country, but beyond. It took too long. But America now is finally living up to its pledge of liberty and justice for all. And we can't ignore that the founding fathers who are now being condemned made that possible. It is inherently unfair to judge historical figures by the social mores of today. Modern civilization is a testament to how much we have grown. A study of history reminds us of our spectacular evolution. A great shrine to that is the Capitol Rotunda, with documents and images of who and what paved our path to enlightenment, all made possible by this grand experiment called America. And the only thing that should trigger is celebration. I'm Larry Menti. Enjoy your 4th of July weekend.